In this VideoNet interview at IBC 2011, I'm speaking with Danny Wilson, President and CEO at Pixelmetrix. Hi, Danny.
Hi, John. Thanks.
Your company was one of the first, really, to sort of bring the concept of preventative monitoring to market, and the idea of giving visibility right down to the set-top box. Is that kind of now so widely adopted that there's not much left to worry about on the classic TV network, or is there still more work to be done?
I think that generally the problems of content delivery are a lot more mature. They're solved compared to, say, 10 years ago when MPEG was new, digital modulation was new. But the overall delivery challenge of the operators has never changed. They need to acquire some content, they need to process it, and then ultimately deliver it to the consumer. And that has not changed. I don't think it will ever change, because that is fundamentally the business model that we have here in television.
I mean, what are the next challenges if we just concentrate on the network and as far as the set-top box, the classic kind of MPEG-2, MPEG-4 world?
I think that the introduction of new technologies, new encoding and new transmission technologies forms a significant part of those new challenges. Another one is more in the business climate. And what we've seen over the last 5, 10, 15 years is a fragmentation of the business units or the economic units involved in television delivery, i.e. that the BBC does not do it all themselves. You have a fragmentation between the roles of content creator and provider, packaging the content, to the guys that are delivering the content. And you get this decoupling in there. Therefore, wherever you have a provider and a consumer, you have contracts in place, service level agreements in place, and from the guys buying the content, do they get what they pay for? And that question has never gone away. It's actually getting more severe as the entire market kind of explodes out into different independent business units. It's much more fragmented than it ever used to be.
Okay, so there's more focus on service level agreement matching that, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, looking beyond the sort of the traditional classic TV market, if you like, I mean, it looks like the next big challenge is really the home network and multi-screen in particular. We know that multi-screen viewing is very important in the home, not just for mobile. So presumably a service provider would like their customer to have a good experience, even when perhaps it's not their content, perhaps if it's a catch-up service that they're not directly responsible for. But, I mean, can they achieve the kind of visibility and the assurance that they need to take a bit more responsibility?
I'm not optimistic in any way about that. And the whole point, though, is that in the home network, it's your home. It's my home, it's her home. And nobody has control over that, really, except for you. I mean, there's a lot of discussion about putting agents into the set-top box, into the residential gateway, into trying to get some visibility. But the ultimate connection of what's going on, the environment of what's going on in the home is completely beyond the control of any operator. The telephone people had tried to do that. And, you know, they used to own the telephone. And now it's a demarcation point. And anything beyond that demarcation point, it's wild times out there. Mm-hmm. I'm not optimistic in any way of getting some control and visibility over the home. You introduce Wi-Fi and wireless transmission into that, you have no idea what's going on. And you have houses built out of concrete. There's going to be all kinds of signal impairments going on in the house. It's out of control. Right?
I mean, is that likely to change at all? Because, I mean, I know it is a controversial area for operators, and there is a big debate about how much responsibility they should take. But the opportunity, if they can seize it, is obviously to become the connected home keeper, if you like. And given that content is becoming more difficult to differentiate through content, then maybe the next stage for them is to become the gateway to all content, whether it's theirs or off the internet. And they get that presence in the home by being the person who makes it all work in the home. So the prize looks massive. Therefore, surely we could try and find a solution. I mean, is it going to be possible?
Is the prize massive, though? Because that provider, the operator, what is he doing? And the problem is that he's being reduced to a role of pipe provider, and that he's going to provide this connectivity, and it's increasingly just a pure IP flow. And you look at like the Netflix model, okay? So Netflix charges the end consumer, and then they load off their content onto the ISP, who has to actually build and operate the network and get no money in exchange, okay? So in that case is that the beneficiary of the over-the-top video service doesn't have to, you know, why it's so cheap? Because they don't have to build a network and dig holes and lay fiber optic cables, and it's not their problem whether it works in the home or not. It's the problem of the ISP. And what does the ISP get in return? much bigger question is, I don't see how the economic model to sustain over the top in any kind of profitable way can actually continue. And you get into the world of politics, the entire net neutrality debate says you can't discriminate based on what kind of service.
But presumably one way to try and monetize it would be to offer sort of service level agreement for an over-the-top provider if you're the broadband or the pay TV operator. But you still need to be able to see what's going on right down to the tablet or the smartphone to offer
It could be. Yeah, it could be. But at the moment, the over-the-top providers of content, the content providers, are not paying any ISPs for any sort of guaranteed delivery. It's all best effort. And if you're going to pay for reliable delivery, you're not going to charge your consumers $8 a month anymore, right? So then I think you'll see this escalating inflation in the price of OTT services. They're not going to be free. And now, if the consumers are hooked on free television, or almost free television, and suddenly you have to pay $20 a month for this, I don't know if it's gonna, how that's gonna work. Certainly, what you say is that if the network operator says, "I'll give you some kind of guarantee," that can extend the monitoring equation into the home. The biggest question that the cable operators have always faced is, how much does it cost for a truck roll? How many times do I have to send a technician to your house to try to fix the cable and swap the set-top box and change the connector and do all of this stuff? Because they did take responsibility. The whole internet equation is even that much more worse. So,
okay.
Good question.
Okay, so if we focus on just finally the services that they already deliver, they get a good margin on them, I guess, or some people do at least. What do you think you can offer them now?
OTT guys.
No, the pay TV people.
Yeah, all right.
So classic pay TV. I mean, what can you offer them now, and what's new for IBC that will sort of change their lives, if you like?
The biggest thing is we see this increasing complexity, but at the same time there's tremendous financial pressures on the operators, both from a pure economic profit, I don't have enough money in the bank point of view. That's driven by the general economy, and particularly here in Europe. And at the same time, they get challenged by alternate methods of content, the OTT, case in point. And what we have at IBC is we have what we call a disaster recovery standby playout server. Okay, and if you look at the alternatives of keeping your signal on the air, people cannot afford to go out and buy another big iron video server with automation systems, etc. And if that fails, if there's any problems in that, or if you need to expand your channel offering, you just don't have the money for it. The CFOs overrule the engineers today and says, look, instead of a 6-digit solution, we have a 5-digit solution. And this can provide emergency playout in the case of a system failure. And it's a little different than the quality management monitoring that Pixelmetrix is known for. At the moment, it's our hottest product. Okay. Because in today's economic times, it's an economic solution for a problem that really exists.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a good place to leave it, and I guess we'll go and have a look at that later.
For sure.
All right, thanks, Danny.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.